Hello, my friends. My name is Samuel Savy, and this week on the show, CF Montreal's historic season comes to an end in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Club legend Justin Mapp returns as a scouting collab, and the women national team knows its opponents for the 2023 World Cup. All of that and a lot more in episode 105 of The Ball is Round. And I'm joined by my friend Hady Raphael. Eve was not available today. She's with her mom, who made the trip from the eastern on the eastern coast. So, Hady, how are you doing, man?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just very disappointed to not have the comments of Gail today during the pod, but it's gonna be fun. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be fun. I'm so happy to know that she was able to make the trip. I think I read somewhere on Eve's Twitter that it was the first time since 2019.
Oh,
So
wow.
pretty awesome to see her back here.
Yeah, you're not too down with what happened at Stade Saputo this afternoon, man.
Listen, it's a loss. Yeah, it's a loss. Yes, disappointing, but you know what? It's the beginning of something good. I hope for CF Montreal, and at one point it was gonna end, right? So maybe it was gonna end with an MLS Cup
Yeah,
or
that could
not,
have been
but
good, no?
it could have been good, but you know, uh, in a word, a lot better than what was expected at the beginning of the season. So
Oh
let's not
yeah, for
let's not
sure.
be too picky.
No, for sure. Look, if you told me when we lost against New York City away that 5-1 defeat, I think that
Oh,
was the lowest point of the season. I would have said, man, this is done. This season is out the
yeah.
window. But it's incredible what the team did. We won't go into like the full review of the season because we'll do it in 2 or 3 episodes. We're not sure yet. We'll announce it during the week. So let's jump right into the NYC game because there's a lot to talk about even though it came to an end for us at Stade Saputo this afternoon. So, just to recap a bit, our opponent, New York City FC, had a torrid time following the departure of head coach Ronnie Deila and star player Valentin Castellanos, a sequence in which they won one game in through 10. It was in August and September. But since then, they were undefeated in four coming into this game, including their 3-0 win against Inter Miami in the first round of the playoffs. On our behalf, Montreal not lost a single game since the 31st of August. It was a 1-0 home loss against New York Red Bull. If the Orlando game was the blueprint of what CF Montreal was to do in the playoffs, it would be very interesting to see how Wilfred Nasi would line his team up. And it went Pantemis in goal, from right to left in defense, Johnston, Waterman, Camacho, Miller, Lapalainen. In midfield, Piet, Wanyama, Kone, and Mihalovic, and up front, Kai Kamara. Romel Kyoto was once again not fit enough to start while Georgia Quizera replaced Robert Torkelson on the bench. Hady, any thoughts on this lineup? Any surprises? Like when the lineup came out 45 minutes before the game, what were you thinking about?
I was expecting to see Kyoto, but I was like, you know what, maybe he's not fit enough to be in the starting 11. And at one point, I was like, you know what, we won last week without him, so why change a winning team? So I wasn't too surprised to keep, to have the same starting 11 than the previous week, knowing that Kone, had a very good game last time. So yeah, no, I wasn't really surprised. I just hoped that there was a plan for Kyoto to come in and to find his groove again, because yes, he was injured, and even winning or losing, we were going to need him on the pitch. Winning because you want him to be ready for the following game, or losing because you want him to come and score goals for us. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that with Renasi had a plan, depending on the scenarios that CF Montreal was gonna face today.
Yeah, and when you went through that tough Orlando game, because it wasn't an easy game at all, and you went with that formation with Camara up front, so you don't necessarily want to disrupt it, but still Kyoto is your MVP of the season. He's your top scorer, so it must have been if which I really doubt. If Kyoto was 100% fit and the doctor told Wilfred Nasi, you can play him 90 minutes, he's good, it must have been really like a very tough decision to take for Nasi. Though I don't think he was 100% fit. I think he had maybe 35, 40 minutes in his legs maximum, because otherwise I'm pretty sure I've seen him now.
Listen, Sam Piet said in the presser afterwards, in the post game presser, he said that he was fit, but we didn't ask the question to Nasi. But Sam Piet was like, yeah, he was fit. He could have started the game, but he didn't. So that's something that Sam Piet said. Now maybe he just looked at Kyoto and speculated that he was 100%. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. Either way, I'm not surprised. Even if he was fit, I'm not surprised that Nasi, went with the same starting 11, because they were pretty good last week. So why change it?
Yeah, absolutely. And for Montreal, it wasn't a great start. In the 6th minute, Maxime Morales smashed the ball top net after a great combination in the box. It wasn't the desired start, Hady, but there was nothing alarming at that point yet, right? Nothing that you saw that said, that's not going to be a good one today.
Listen, they were very, very, very nervous
Yeah,
at the beginning of the game, and New York City FC was pressing so high up the pitch. Uh, I wasn't very relaxed at
okay.
all. But I agree with you. When they scored, I was like, okay, you know what? We already came from behind quite a few times this year, so it wasn't alarming, as you said. But they needed to concentrate and to find their game shape, because they weren't very they were on their heels for the first more, I think, 10 to 15 minutes. They were on their heels, and it was pretty hard for CF Montreal at the beginning. Maybe not 10, but until the 7th or 8th minute,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to be honest. And even if you look at the beginning of the game, the first few seconds, directly you see the intentions of New York City FC with that long ball behind the defense. And thank God that was Joel Waterman that did a last minute tackle to really stop the ball from arriving to I think Heber's
Yeah, to
feet.
Seber, yeah.
So you saw the nervousness since the beginning of the game, and that was a bit worrying. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll come back to this, Eddie, because, you can maybe see nervous patterns in the first 5 or 10 minutes of game. But teams usually tend to kind of settle into the game, and it was long until Montreal
Yeah.
really kind of settled in. We'll get back to it, because in the 10th minute they kind of picked it up. It was a classic pattern of play that smiled at us time and time again this year. Piet found Johnston on the right, who delivered a perfect cross to camera, but Sean Johnson made a fantastic save. Did you have the feeling, Eddie, that Montreal relied a bit too heavily on delivering from the flanks towards the obvious target, who was Camara? There was only one, really.
Listen, when New York City FC scored a goal, you knew they were going to park the bus, right? Everybody knew that, because this is how they play against us. It's the second time that they play at Stade Saputo. The first time around, it was they parked the bus completely to get a 0-0 draw. And now, as soon as I scored the goal, I was like, okay, they're parking the bus, and you saw it like right away, right after. You saw the whole team like really parking the bus, like not even spreading on the whole half of the field. They just like even like a quarter of the field was taken.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was a bit crazy. So for me, crosses were the answer
Okay.
in order to disrupt that low block. I think crosses were the answer. I would have liked to see more crosses on the ground, because you never know, a deflection could
Hmm.
cause damage when you have a lot of bodies in the box. But yeah, I think crosses were the answer. So no, I wasn't really surprised, and for me, that was the way to go.
Yeah, so kind of worked, because Camara had another great opportunity that hit the post, and Waterman got his goal flagged for offside. It was a clear offside,
Yeah, clear offside. No
Um,
questions there.
yeah, but Montreal really put New York against the ropes in these times. But what was missing? You talked about the low crosses, but I mean more in terms of execution to get that goal that we needed so much at that moment in the game.
Listen, I thought that a few times I was looking at how the movement was done, offensively for CF Montreal, and a few times during the whole game, not only in the first half but even the second. Sometimes I thought that there wasn't a lot of bodies in the box.
Oh yes, thank you.
Sometimes there was two or three. That's pretty good, but I think they should have been four or five most of the time because of the low block. So you're playing already against a team that's parking the bus. You're already taking a lot of risks. Like go all the way. Just go five players in the box while someone crosses. I think that's the way to go. Unfortunately, I didn't see enough of that. But can you really blame CF Montreal on this first half? Offensively, I don't think you can really blame them. They tried everything. They
No,
really
no,
tried everything.
yeah, and it's funny how I saw the game because Montreal kind of played in patterns of play that they usually play when they play with two strikers. But now they had camera, so when I say that Kyoto wasn't fit enough to play, I'm pretty sure he wasn't because Montreal kind of prepared as if because the way they were moving the ball, Piet's movement, Johnston's movement, Mialovic, Lassie, the way they were connecting, reminisced a lot of when Montreal are playing with two forwards with Camara and Kyoto. So now maybe that extra body that you're talking about is just a mental blockage of we just have one player out there, so maybe we need a midfielder to make a run. Maybe Wanyama needs to get in there. Maybe Kone needs to not stay on the top of the 16-yard box, but just drive the penalty spot once or twice, and it just didn't happen. So I think it was very fine margins in execution that kind of made us not score. Chan says Montreal missing luck. Kone and Camara would score 9 out of 10. Yeah, and Sean Johnston once again against us was fantastic, right?
Yeah, Sean Johnson is a very good keeper. Don't forget that he's an American international too. Like the U.S. team has good goalkeepers, and him being in the top three most of the time, being selected, says it all, right? He's there for a reason, and we have a tendency to forget that New York City FC is the reigning champion.
Yeah, yeah, we
So
kind of do. Yeah.
you're not playing against someone that's really bad. Yes, they had a spell where they weren't very well, but very good. But they picked it up afterwards. So yeah, no, Sean Johnson really had a terrific first half.
Yeah,
Terrific.
And talking about Johnson in the 31st minute, Alistair Johnston delivered a glorious ball to Kone, who was unmarked, but Sean Johnson pulled what I think was his best save of the night to deny the youngster. Now, just moving from Johnston to Kone, what did you think of Ismail Kone's game, Hady? Because last week he was named man of the match. We kind of debated it here on the Ball is Run. We weren't too on that page. I thought it was Piet. I think you said it was Waterman, was it?
I don't remember.
Anyways,
it was,
but we didn't have Kone. But I really thought Kone was stellar in the first half. He showed exactly why he's hyped so much in that first half.
Exactly. I think it was one of the best games I've seen Kone play with CF Montreal. I think he don't forget that he's learning still that position in that 3-4-3 because it wasn't really a 3-5-2 today. It was more a 3-4-3. He's still learning that position to be not really a winger, not really centrally, some sort of a mix of the two.
Kind of a free roamer at some times.
Exactly. A bit like Mihailovic, but Mihailovic was a bit more central than Kone. But very interesting game for the youngster, and I think one of his best games. Accelerating the play as much as he can, that was pretty good. Keeping the ball under pressure, he was very good at that. He just lacked a bit of maybe vision in sometimes. He's able to dribble. Maybe vision with his passes is a bit. Sometimes he needs to improve a bit on that. But overall, no, great first half for Ismail Kone.
Yeah, and I mean, Sometimes you kind of have the feeling for outsiders, us in Montreal, that we follow his career very closely. I think we kind of were able to have some distance with all the hype and to see the pros and the cons of his game. But sometimes we would see highlights from a game he played, and they show some great turns, some great passes, but they don't show the turnovers that he made and some defensive mistakes, but barely any in this game. A very
Yeah,
clean game for us, man. Kone,
very.
maybe that the only, and it's very technical and very like it's looking for trouble almost, but I think sometimes he lacked taking the information when he did get the ball, and he turned on the wrong side, because sometimes he could have literally turned and attacked the center backs, but because he hadn't taken the information and didn't think that the center back was as far, he would turn on the wrong side and go more towards the wings. That's really like, it's not much, but it's still something that they're gonna work on, and but you know you can see why he's hyped that much with the
Yeah,
game
but
he played.
let's not forget, Sam, his first professional season.
Ah, it's amazing. No, 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 no,
so
not
so
this
yeah,
one. It's amazing,
these
man.
yeah these are details that you learn, while playing, 5 seasons at that level. Right now he's not there yet, and for his first season, that his technical abilities, his physical abilities, what he's able to bring to a team, is pretty amazing at this age. He's 19, I think, or 20. He's very young still. He has a bright future if he stays disciplined and if he continues on learning.
Well, he had the best chance, I think, of the first half, and we lived to rue these missed chances, because in added time of the first half, Maxi Morales and Acevedo combined to break quickly in acres of space left open by Montreal, and Heber got on the end of a super ball at the very end of that half. Hadi, my question, when you look at how this first half kind of played out, did we need to commit so many bodies forward at that stage in the game? Because when Morales turned and had the ball, I think it was 4 against 3 from inside their own area, New York. It was a complete mismatch
No.
defensively for us.
Listen, it's funny because Wilfried Nancy talked about it after the game, and he said, "Yes, today we got beaten on the counter, but if you look at the whole year, we're one of the best teams defending counterattacks in the league." So it's a bit of a paradox in a way, because Montreal is so good at that usually, but today I don't think it's the bodies committed forward that's the problem. Is maybe committing yourself forward and not having enough energy to go back if there's a counter, and that's, I think, comes with experience. When you're a player and you're risking your team's you're risking a bit something, and you try to go forward as a defender, as a wing back or whatever. You have to always think, okay, if they counter, do I have enough energy?
Yeah.
Do I have enough pace? Do I have enough? Do I have enough of everything in order to come back and help my teammates? And unfortunately, I think today they were a bit overhyped by the whole thing, and it all comes down to experience. You have a very experienced team in New York City FC against a rookie team
Mhm.
of CF Montreal. It's as simple as that.
And I think Chan asks us an interesting question here. Eddie, you could put it on the screen. Chan asks us, are you guys disappointed by Nassi's decision not taking out one defender earlier with an additional offensive weapon? Down 0-2 and played with 5 defenders at the beginning of the second half. It was weird. So it kind of brings us to halftime, Hady. And so I wanted to hear your thoughts on how that first half went, any adjustments, and would Chan's um, idea been something that we should have considered earlier in the game for Wilfred Nasi?
No, no, not at all. Because we're not really playing with 5 defenders, and
Yeah,
we talked about it quite a bit. I'm sorry, but Johnston and Lassi Lapalainen were wingers, not even wing backs. They were wingers during
yeah,
most
no,
of the game.
definitely, definitely.
Miller was playing mostly like a fullback, so
Sometimes a midfielder, even.
sometimes a
So yeah,
midfielder. So at the back you had Waterman and Camacho most of the time, and even sometimes Waterman would go up. So Camacho was left all behind alone. So no, I don't think so. We're lucky enough to have players like Miller and Waterman that have, like, Miller is able to play as a fullback in a back four, so he has those offensive abilities in order to bring some sort of danger. And Waterman is a former midfielder, so he does also have abilities to play a bit forward. So no, I don't think he should have changed the back line at all. I think that he needed. I would have liked to see Kyoto come in at the 45th minute directly for Piet. I think it was the right change to see Piet go out and Kyoto come in. I don't know if it was in the program, and you were going to talk about this a bit later.
Maybe. It's okay,
No,
man.
but I like the change because down 2-0, Piet doesn't have, like, you don't really need a player like Piet. You need someone that's gonna. Victor Wanyama is able to play and to handle that midfield alone. That's not a problem at all. So you're able to risk it a bit by putting an offensive player at this place.
So
So
that's
I think it was the
interesting,
right
Eddie.
move.
Because we had a comment coming in from, I think it was G Sharp, on Samuel Piet's positioning and his role today. And now we're talking about Piet and the utility that he had. So maybe we can dive into it. G Sharp hits us with at TBR Montreal. I did not like Piet's game from the get go. Didn't seem to have a role. So there's two things in what G Sharp says. He didn't like the way Piet played. Okay, that's an opinion. But I think we should maybe get to the second point, which is very interesting. He didn't seem to have a role. Piet has a very specific role with the team. I kind of saw what G Sharp meant today. And I had the feeling that sometimes Piet wasn't sure if he was playing a bit deeper, if he was overlapping with Johnston, he was cutting inside. I think Piet was kind of always doubting on where he had to be and what he had to be. Did you see the same thing, Hady?
Not really. I saw that his role changed a lot during the game. At first, he was supposed to be, the double pivot with Victor Wanyama, and then the goal was to see Wanyama in the middle with Piet on the right and Kone on the left. And then Johnston starting playing some starting having a free role also. I don't know if you realize,
Yeah, it
but he
was on
was
the
on
left
left,
sometimes.
he was on
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
middle,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Piet was playing the wingback part. So I think that his role evolved a lot. Um, and I love Samuel Piet, and he's able to play different roles within the team, but for short period of times. And I think that today he had to play a different role for too too much of the game for too long.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's where I think he was misused in a way. Um, and of course, it wasn't his best game. Let's put it out there. It
Yeah, to
wasn't his
start
best
with,
game.
and
He was off tempo most of the time.
yeah,
But it happens.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it happened today.
yeah, yeah. So we started the second half with Wilfred Mousy making his first move, like you said, Piet taking off captain Sam Piet and replacing him by Romel Kyoto. We talked about that. So it brings us to at the hour mark, there was a mix-up between Kone and Waterman that led to a foul by Pantemis, who came out late to challenge Pereira, and Drew Fisher pointed to the penalty spot. Thales Magno scored from the ensuing penalty to make the score 3-0. Wilfred Kokua on YouTube hits us with the problem is our goalkeeper. He came out late, which caused the penalty. He definitely came out late, James Pantemis, but was James Pantemis the problem today, Hady? Or is it a bit harsh by Wilfred?
I think that everybody's being a bit harsh on Wilfred on James Pantemis. On the first goal, yes, he came out, and when you come out on the side like that, you just have to make sure that you get the ball. Is he the main culprit? Maybe on the first goal. On the third goal, he went out. The the offensive player made a great move, and unfortunately it gave a penalty. I'm not going to say he had a good game, not at all. He didn't have a good game, but saying it's because of Pantemis that we lost the game is a bit too harsh because it's not true. We lost the game because we had an opponent that's experienced, that had 4 shots on goal, 5 shots altogether, 4 shots on goal, 3 goals went in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And because our team was playing very offensively and there was a lot of gaps in defense. That's the reason why.
Yeah, absolutely. So Montreal kept on coming, though, even if it was 3-0. And Johnson had a great opportunity that went begging before Nancy made his second round of subs. In came Toy and Quizera, off came Waterman and Lapalainen. As G Sharp says, it's interesting. G Sharp says, I think giving up the third goal killed the team spirit. So I'll throw it to you, Hady. Was Wilfred Nancy already in desperation mode at that moment?
I don't think he was. I don't think he was in desperation mode, but you're down 3-0 at 70th minute, I think. Was it at the 70th minute that they scored the
3-0
third
at the
goal?
60th.
60th minute. You need to come back. You need to come back, and to come back, you need to put a lot of offensive players on the pitch in order to increase the chances to come back. No, I don't think he was desperate. I loved the way Wilfried Nancy made his changes, his substitutions, and the way he tried to always unlock a situation that was pretty locked, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The thing is, if there's one thing that I would have done differently, I would have maybe when Kyoto went in at halftime. For me, it was halftime, but he went in a bit later.
53rd, yeah.
53rd. I would have loved to see someone else than Lassie. Not because Lassie had a bad game, but Lassie plays with pace. Lassie plays in behind the defense. There wasn't any space in behind the defense. I would have loved to see someone that's able to dribble, someone that's able, and he put Quizera in.
Which was interesting.
To see Chouanière.
Yeah, but I understand why he wanted to bring Quizera, and we'll get there because
sorry.
No, that's all good. I know why he kind of wanted to see Quizera in there, because I'm not sure that Chouanière could bring something much different than what Lassie was bringing. So I kind of have the impression that, what Lassie said, it's locked over there. I'll just try something, because Quizera likes to go dribble one-on-one and try to shake a player and use the space behind him. Not exactly what Chouanière likes to do. I think Chouanière likes to play a bit more in combination. So it's interesting to bring in Quizera. Did it work really? I wouldn't say that, but I understand the thought process of Wilfried Nancy at that moment.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that combinations would have brought something different, and that's why for me Chouanière would have been maybe better than Quizera, because I think that you have enough players to cross the ball. And I think Quizera, dribble and crossing, that's what he does best.
Mm-hmm.
I think we needed someone else to come and disrupt the midfield, the low block, by dribbling, by playing short passes and everything like that. So I don't know. But, it's easy to talk at the end of the game, right? So
Of course, man, of course. And the last throw of the dice came in the 80th minute when Nancy pulled off Kone and Camacho for Torres and ZBG. The move kind of paid off 4 minutes later when ZBG delivered a super ball to Mihailovic, who finally beat Sean Johnson. It was Georgie's last goal at Stade Saputo. Hady, do you have the feeling that the American was able to find his game fully following his injury? Did he finally peak once the playoffs are?
Georgie?
Yeah.
I think that Georgie today wasn't really bad. I think he had an okay game. But again, you're playing with a low block. I don't know if you realize, but the pressure on the midfielders today was immense.
Oh, yeah.
On Piet, Wanyama, and Mihailovic. It was crazy. They didn't give them room to breathe. Like Wanyama, every time he had the ball, he had 2 to 3 players on him. Piet, the fact that he was, he had not a very good game, it's because of the pressure that was on him. So I think the concentration of and the game plan of New York City FC was to press the midfielders as much as possible, and that's why we didn't see much of Mihailovic. Did he peak after his injury? I think he did. I think he came back. He scored a few important goals in the last few games, right? So, yeah, last week against Orlando, he gave an assist. He scored a goal, and today he scored the only goal. Of course, a big mistake by Sean Johnson. Should have like he had such a great first half, and then
And he gives that, yeah.
exactly. So, no, do you think he never picked it up after his injury?
No, but I think the way the team kind of was playing when he came back was a bit different than when he got injured too. So his role kind of changed because
Exactly.
I have the feeling that when he did come back, Georgie, he was drifting a bit less to the left, where he was. It was very interesting, and he was asked to play a bit more centrally. And so, because on the left, Kamal Miller, I think, was asked to play a bit higher and use the space that Georgie sometimes would like to drift in. So his role kind of changed, Georgie, and maybe had to adjust a bit. I don't think we saw the Georgie as good as before his injury when he did come back, but I'm I can't complain on what he gave us coming back from his injury, because I think he opened up a lot of situations just by being there. The danger that he poses, that the threat that he puts in the head of the opposition managers, opposition defenders, opens up spaces for a lot of other players on the pitch, and he's able to create even though he has that tight marking on him. So no, I mean, I won't complain on what Georgie did, man.
Yeah.
It's a tough role that he's had to bear this year, and I think he's done it well coming back from injury. So now,
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and it's interesting that what you said, that he, the different tactical system after he was injured, like the way the team evolved and changed the way they play, um, maybe wasn't that suited for someone like Georgi Mihailovic. But what's nice about it, and I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about it a lot more in the next few episodes, but what's nice about it is that now that Georgie's gone, I think we have the players that we need in order to move on from him. So that's unless they leave. So that's pretty. No, that's good. If you look forward, there's some hope.
yeah, for sure. But there wasn't any for Montreal left in that game, and Drew Fisher eventually blew the final whistle and signaled the end of the Cinderella season for Montreal. All in all, even though the defeat, considering the defeat, it was a great afternoon at Stade Saputo, a sellout crowd, amazing ambience, probably the best all year. Fans showed the love that the club deserved. Hady, you were at the post-game presser. Did Wilfried Nancy feel the love coming to him?
Oh yeah, it's a lot, and it's funny because that was the last thing he said in his press conference. He said, I'm just gonna pull it out because I don't want to mess his words. Um, he said, I'm proud of my players, but mostly I'm proud about the Montreal people, or the people of Montreal, and the Montrealers. Like you felt pride in his words. Um, Ambiance was amazing. Amazing. You felt the tension since the beginning, and even in the press box, I was in the outside press box, so not in the inside one. I like to sit always at the outside press
Outside,
box
yeah.
because I'm able to cheer a bit. Inside, it's not inside. No cheering in the inside press box. So outside, I'm able to cheer a bit more. So I was sitting next to my colleagues, and we were all a bit excited, all a bit rooting for the team, even if we're not supposed to. Like we're neutrals. We're supposed to be neutrals, even if we cover our city's team. But it was exciting. It was very exciting, and I think it, it is bittersweet in a way,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
It is bittersweet because we had a wonderful season. Let's not forget. Let's not forget we had a wonderful season. You look at the and Sam, I just need to say one last thing. I know I've
Of
been
course,
talking a
go ahead,
lot,
man.
but one last thing before I let you move on to the next topic, man. New York City FC, okay? They have Maxime Chanot that gets injured. Who comes off the bench?
Keaton Parks.
American International.
Yeah.
Then they want to switch things up. Who comes in? Tyus Magno.
It's ridiculous, man.
7 goals, 10 assists this season for Tyus Magno. And he scores a penalty. Like when you look at the quality that this team has, it's just ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And they've done it all last year. They won the MLS Cup. So they also have the experience. And then you have a guy like Maximiliano Morales. That's, I think, one of the best players that ever played in MLS. It's as simple as that. He's so good. Now he's a bit older now, so he plays a more he plays a bit
Yeah, a bit
deeper
lower.
than he
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah.
bit lower, a bit deeper than when he used to play, but he's still so
No, it's
important. And
fantastic.
so you know what? We lost against a better team today, but look at the whole season, and you can only look at the whole season and just applaud the work done by the club and by Wilfred Mossy.
Talking about Wilfred Nasi, we had a question from Tate, and it's Tate Brooks, a friend of the pod. He sends us a lot of very interesting questions, and he hit us with, will Wilfred Nasi be back next season for us? And it's kind of funny that that question is asked when we've had such a good season, but in the presser after the game, there was kind of a bit of a controversial moment with Wilfred Nasi. Maybe, what was that about?
Is it controversial?
I don't know.
I think that
I'm asking you.
people want to make it controversial.
Okay.
Okay, the question was asked. You're after a game that was a heavy loss at home against a New York City team, and the question is asked, "What are you going to do next season?" It's not the time or the place to ask that
I don't
question.
think so, no.
It's not at all the time or the place. And Wilfried Nasi was a bit like, his answer was like, "Whoa," and he's like, "Listen, let me at least enjoy in a way the final presser that I'm giving. It's not time right now to ask me about my future." So, do you want to see it? If you want to see it in a negative way, you can, or you can see it for what it really is. In my opinion, they didn't reach an agreement because they're not talking, because right now they were concentrating on the playoffs.
Well, if it's that, I mean, I don't know, because it's been rumored that Wilfred Nasi has attracted other teams. Other teams
Yeah,
are
of
looking
course,
at it as progress and would be maybe interested in making an offer eventually.
of course,
Now, is he playing that negotiation game? Because we have
of
to we
course.
have to understand that Montreal have the option on his contract for next year. But if you want to build something long term, I don't think Montreal wants to. You just force Nasi to come back next year on his option year, and maybe come to maybe a 3 or 4 year contract and give him the keys to the club, and let's continue to build what we're building. So it's interesting that he kept the door very wide open to probably any scenario, really.
No, for me, it's normal that you keep the door open because you don't know what are the plans of the people, the higher direct the higher ups, right? You don't
Hmm.
know what the plans. So right now you don't have a contract, or you have an option, but you don't really have a contract. So at one point, okay, look at it from that perspective. Okay, Wilfred Donnelly was given a chance. He was given a chance when nobody thought he was an MLS caliber coach. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure I don't know the salary of Wilfred Nancy, but I'm pretty sure it was a very low salary. Okay, then when things were very bad for the club, he got an extension. Right, he got a new contract. Again, I'm pretty sure if you look at the run that they were on, where it wasn't going very well, pretty sure he had a contract with a low salary too.
Kind of makes
Now,
sense, right?
now you're about to be named, because I'd be very shocked if he's not, coach of the season. Wilfred Nancy has the keys, has everything with him to negotiate a better deal and a very good deal.
Oh yeah, the tables have shifted totally. Now he has the power. So yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So of course, for the past 2 years, you were given peanuts. So it's time for you to get paid more. And I'm pretty sure he wants that job stability. So I'm pretty sure if he's gonna sign a new contract, he's gonna want to sign a contract for more than 2 years.
Of
So
course.
3 and more.
Hmm.
Okay, because he want to make sure that his situation is settled for at least X amount of years.
Hmm.
Okay, so and for me that's completely normal.
Of course.
Now, what if you look at Olivier Renard's perspective? You're changing cycles. Okay, it's the end of a cycle, right,
Of course.
Sam?
Yeah, definitely.
Completely the end of a cycle. The
Wanyama,
Wanyama
Mihailovic.
going, Mihailovic going. So all those players that have made the team in the last 2 years are going away. Okay, so you're starting a new cycle. So if you're going to change your coach, it's now or never. Are you going to start a new cycle with the same coach? Or do you want to go and start a cycle with another coach? So it's a very, very interesting off season
Oh,
that's
of course.
coming, I
Oh
think.
man, and that we're gonna talk about the off season a bit more. When we're gonna debrief the season and all. But Hadi, what I want to ask you is just a few words to describe this season, because we'll give two full episodes on really breaking down the season. But tonight it's been a few hours since it hurt. We're out. We kind of expected to do a bit better coming into the playoffs. How do you feel right now? How would you describe this season? And how do you feel?
Listen, I feel unbelievable. I'm yes, of course, that game hurts, but I think any loss hurts, right? But when I look at the bigger picture, this team has done wonders this year. For me, I put them out of the playoffs at the beginning of the season. It's the first time I think in a few years that I put them out of the picture. And listen, I think they stunned everybody. They were awesome. They were really awesome. Wilfried Nancy had a lot of critics and criticism
Yes, yes, he
towards
did.
him, saying that he doesn't change his tactical system, he doesn't does this, and he doesn't do that. But you know what? Wilfried Nancy succeeded all the way. Olivier Renard succeeded all the way with his MLS players for sure, and we'll talk about
Hmm.
the rest in the future. But unbelievable season. Uh, I don't. I think that if we had won this game, we would have lost in Philly. So for me, I wasn't expecting more than that.
Okay,
So for
okay.
me, it's not a big difference. And honestly, I think that my my wallet is pretty happy because I was about to go to
Yeah, I
Philadelphia.
was thinking
So
about it too, man. I was like, oh
so
no,
now
not again.
so now at least I'm gonna save $1,000. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I would just say, it's it's food for growth, in a sense that you
Yeah.
look at this core of the team, very very young core. Now one has to wonder who of that young core is going to be there in the future. But I think that if you look at the Millers, the Waterman, even Pantemis, I would say, Lassie, these are players that I think we're going to see in Montreal for a few years still, even though there's a World Cup coming and whatever can happen, if they have good success. They're gonna bring this with them, this end of the season. But realize that you can be as good as you want to, you can be, I mean, in the season. But come the playoffs, it's another game. Now you need to be exposed to that difference in intensity, difference in preparation, difference in mental, in the way you look at the game, the way you play it, and maybe just bring it on with them, and and be a bit more prepared in the future, because you can only be as prepared as what you've been exposed to. Now they've been exposed to these games. It's going to be interesting to see what's next for them in the future. So, like I said, starting next week, we'll get in the full review of the season, and we'll keep you up with it this week on what we're gonna have guests and stuff. So, Hady, did you have anything else to say about the presser before we move on?
Oh, there's so many
Oh
things
yeah.
that I wanted to say. First of all, for the first time, because it's the playoffs, so we had the coach of New York City FC that came into the presser and had his presser with us. It wasn't the case for Orlando last week, so we saw Nick Cushing coming. Um, I can't even express how many times he praised Wilfred Nancy and that team. It's amazing how much respect he has for Wilfried Nancy. And he also said, if they continue with this coach and the way that they've been doing, it's a guarantee that this team will be a winning team.
Wow.
That's exactly what he said. He also said, we knew we were going to suffer. Last time around we suffered, and we got a 0-0 draw. But this time we were able to at least have counterattacks and score on the counterattacks. But we knew we were going to suffer because that team is very, very good and very complete. So, words of praise of Nick Cushing, and that's very, very rare usually to see that, because they did win 3-1. They didn't win 1-0, right? They won 3-1 today. So that's the first part. The second part is Wilfried Nancy. He was asked if you had one thing to say, one word to say, or one sentence to say about the season, what would be the sentence that you would give? And his answer was like, impossible is an opinion. I don't know what he meant by this, but he's like, we always believed in ourselves. We knew we were able to put an identity on that team. And you know what? We all know the identity that he put in place. And I love that. I love what Wilfried Nancy said. Then for the players, we had Alistair Johnston first of all, and I think that's pretty nice. He said a lot of things, but what's really interesting, we asked him if he was going to be back next year, and his answer was like, I have a contract here. I'm very happy at the club. I love the city, and I see myself being here for a few years, but I don't know what's going on in the back scenes, so I don't know what's the plan for me.
Okay.
So it's interesting because I heard so many rumors about interest being shown in Alistair Johnston. So that's another chapter also to cover during the offseason.
Oh man, yeah.
and then Sam Piet that came in, and two things that he said that are very interesting. The first one was he said he was surprised with the intensity New York City FC started the game with. He was a bit surprised because the pressing was very, very, very tough, and they were expecting that, but maybe they were still very surprised by how intense it was.
Okay.
So that's the first thing, and I think it's
a bit surprising, eh?
Yeah, it's surprising.
You're surprised by how,
yeah,
it's you're in the playoffs, eh?
Exactly. And the second thing he said, I want that Wilfried Nancy and all his staff stay in Montreal. There's a philosophy and an idea of play on the pitch, and it's very clear. And I know that it's what the whole dressing room is thinking. They all want the staff to be back next year. So a lot of questions regarding the future of Wilfried Nancy. All the declaration of Nancy, of Johnston, of whoever are declarations because they were asked those questions. Yeah. So don't read too much into it, in my opinion. Now, if he leaves, I will not be very, very surprised. But if he stays, I would not be very, very surprised. It's still a 50-50 in my opinion.
Very interesting. So we'll have that to cover in the off season and a lot for sure. Um, we move on, Hady, because on Thursday the club announced that Justin Mapp was back
Yeah.
this time as a scouting collaborator. It's nice to see the club reconnecting with ex-players again to ramp up their network. So good news, Hady, I guess.
Oh yeah, amazing news. And of course, he came in at the bonus round, so he's a
Yeah,
very
Amy
important
Walsh
asset.
too, and I mean, are we the gatekeepers? What's up? Is
Yeah, exactly, man.
that?
Exactly. We got Patrice Bernier. We got everybody. So you know what? Come to TBIR if you want to get a job at CF Montreal. But no, it's. I'm very happy for Justin Mapp. Very very happy. A great guy. So fun to talk with. So interesting. He's still in soccer, also, as he told us when he was here. So he's not out of touch, right? So it's gonna be interesting. Don't expect too much of that. I think that mostly it's going to be, phone numbers,
Yeah,
networks,
yeah,
as you
it's
said, really
networking exactly.
networking. It's not a scouting department, but more networking. Okay, you know what? MLS draft is coming pretty soon. Justin, who do you have? Can you reach out to a few coaches in the NCAA?
Yep.
Who are the players that are really could be interesting for us? These are the profiles that we need, and that's where Justin Mapp is going to be very interesting.
Well, that's exactly because if you look at the statement from the club, Olivier Gannard said we analyzed their needs internally, and Justin was the right fit for outreach at the U.S. college level and the Super Draft. In addition to connections in the U.S., he is completing his scouting courses and is already familiar with the reality of the club and what we are looking for. Justin Mapp said, "I'm happy to have the chance to continue to help this club that means so much to me. From the US, I will be able to leverage my network to help with scouting and recruiting as well as monitor college prospects. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to be involved with once more with CF Montreal." So, kind of sums it up, really. It's going to be, like we said, some networking, but a guy who knows the club, knows the philosophy, and who stayed very close to the club even since he left. He comes to
Of
Montreal
course.
often. He follows the club very closely. He's a fan of the club
Yeah,
too.
yeah. He always tweets also
Mhm.
whenever there's a big game. He always tweets on the club, wishing everybody, a good game and rooting for the club. So that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
no. So good news. Justin Mack is back with the club. Hadi, we'll move on to the women national team who know their opponents for the 2023 World Cup.
Yeah, yeah. That. But first of all, let me put my segment because I need it. I
You're
need
right.
it.
You're
So it
right.
won't be
My
too
bad.
long. Talking about the national team and the national anthem, how impressing was the national anthem at Stade Saputo?
Oh yeah, that was
I
cool,
had
eh?
goosebumps,
Oh
man.
yeah, yeah. When she stopped singing and
Yeah,
everyone was singing that was cool, man.
I
It was
think
cool.
that's the first time that I experienced that at Stade Saputo, and I think it was amazing.
Yeah, it was
It was
amazing.
really, really amazing.
I had lived that once at the Bell Center once or twice. They had done it for a while, but at Stade Saputo it was the first time. It was great. It was really sharp, and it's kind of cool because last week we've a few listeners hit us with some complaints, critics of the national anthem. We didn't see any this week. I think it went
Yeah,
well. So yeah, good. It was good.
sometimes it's pretty good. So yeah. So let's move on to our next topic. So the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, 2023. So I'm just going to give you a bit of information around that tournament. So it is the World Cup, but it's changing a bit. First time that it will be hosted by two nations, so Australia and New Zealand. It's double the prize money that it was before. That's really interesting. That's really nice. We know the growth of women's soccer right now, and it's so deserved to see a prize money doubled. It's scheduled to be played between the 20th of July and the 20th of August, 2023. So next summer. And it's the first time that it will be expanded from 24 teams to 32 teams. And that's really interesting, I think, because again we see the growth of that
Oh yeah, for
of
sure,
the
man.
game, of the women's game. We have quite a few teams that are making their debut. So the Philippines, Vietnam, the Republic of Ireland, Morocco, and Zambia are national teams that will make their first Women's World Cup next year. Um, Also, just a small note also about broadcasting rights. It's the first time that the Women's World Cup is a standalone product by the FIFA. Usually, it was a bundle with the Men's World Cup, and this time they decided to put it as a standalone. Um, and they're expected to reach an audience of 2 billion people. Last time around in 2019, they reached 1.12 billion.
Oof,
So they're
good man.
expecting quite a leap
Hmm.
forward. Uh, Unfortunately, the interest of the broadcasters has been very, very low. The offers that have been made have been subpar, and Gianni Infantino and other the members of the FIFA were very, very disappointed, and even expressed their annoyance regarding those offers that are very, very low. So that's something I think that broadcasters need to think about. A lot of interest in the women's game, and I think the women deserve a better TV deal for sure.
Of course, man.
So let's look at the draw. First of all, let's look at the draw of the whole competition. So in Group A, New Zealand, Norway, Philippines, and Switzerland. Group C, I will talk about the Group B a bit later. Spain, Costa Rica, Zambia, Japan. Group D, England. There's one team to be determined here. Denmark, China. Group E, USA, Vietnam, Netherlands, and another country that's to be determined. France, Jamaica, Brazil, and
Wow.
another player. I think that's the group of death.
Uh-huh.
Sweden, South Africa, Italy, Argentina, Germany, Morocco, Colombia, and Korea Republic. So interesting draw altogether. Let's talk about that Group B: Australia, Republic of Ireland, Nigeria, Canada. Sam, what do you think about that draw? When you see that group, what do you think about it?
Well, you know that Australia isn't gonna be an easy team at all, and we've seen it firsthand that this team has kind of struggled against Nigeria. Eh? We played these two games. Where were they?
In
They
April?
were, yeah, exactly. And Nigeria gave us a real run for our money. It was very very difficult, cagey games. But I mean, Nigeria, I think were on paper the weaker team, but came out with a very specific game plan and made it extremely difficult for the Canadians. I'll be 100% honest. I don't know much of the Republic of Ireland, so I'll maybe throw it to you. But this won't be an easy. It won't be a walk in the park for Canada at all. But we were asking for exactly this. Canada needs some challenge, but now challenge is coming at the World Cup, so hopefully they'll have before that and they'll be able to bring it up. You know.
Exactly, and we know that the World Cup is a much more difficult competition than the Olympics. It's
Yeah.
the the biggest challenge that this team can have is the World Cup. So let's look at the rankings. Okay, Canada is seventh in the world right now. Australia is 13th in the world. Republic of Ireland is an emerging team. They're 24th in the world, and
Interesting.
Nigeria is 45th in the world. If you look at the past results of Canada against those teams, um, I didn't find much against Republic of Ireland. I think the last game they played was in 2014, so
Yeah.
uh,
Different
too
eras. Eh?
old and different eras, and the women's game was completely different back then. But if you look at Australia, we saw the two games not too long ago. Canada won in Australia twice, 2-1 in Australia, and then 1-0 in Australia. So yes, they are 13th, but Canada has had their numbers the last two games. And Nigeria, you talked about it, and that was in April, a draw 2-2, and then a win 2-0. So Canada is still the favorite to go through
Mm-hmm.
in this group, but it's gonna be very interesting. It's going to be
Of
very
course.
interesting. It's going to be very tough. That's for sure. That's for sure. But you know what? Can't wait to see what Bev Priestman is going to do. Uh, who are the players that she's going to choose? And let's hope she makes the right choices this time.
Hmm. Because now, Bev has been here for a few years now. Yes, there's the Olympics. That was a great achievement, but now it's the World Cup that we want. I think that's gonna be where she's gonna be really evaluated, and people will take a stance on how good a manager she's been, and it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And if you look at one thing, you try to look at if they win the group. Okay, what's nice is you already have the brackets. So winning the group, they're right now in the group B. If they win the group, they're gonna play the winner of the group B will play against the runner-up of group D. Okay, and afterwards, the whole bracket they'll be playing against the winners of group F, D, and H. So F, D, and H. So,
Wow.
France, England, and Germany. Yes, they're very strong teams, but at least we avoid the US. So the only way, if we win the group B, sorry, the only way we will meet the US will be in the finals.
Imagine.
So So yeah, and we all know that the US is a favorite to win this year in 2023. Let's look at the winners, man, to close up the segment, if you don't mind. These are the top four of each competition. So we see the US with four titles, and four titles out of eight. So 50% of the titles were won by
Incredible,
the
man.
US. Runners up one time, third place three times. So never been outside the top three, the US. Germany, twice they won, one runner up, and twice fourth place. Norway, once a title, once a runner up, and twice fourth place. Then Japan, also one time and runner up in 2015 in Canada, of course.
Hmm.
And Canada, their best result is fourth place in 2003.
Wow.
And for me, being the team and having so many great players playing with the Canadian colors, it's just not normal to not see a bit more from Canada in the most impressive competition in a women's soccer. So hopefully we'll see Canada finish in the top three in 2023. I think this team really needs it. Canada needs it, and we want it for sure.
Makes sense, man. So definitely, we'll keep an eye on this for sure because we do cover the women national team on a weekly basis as well as the men's team. Hady, I think we're ready for social media.
Yeah, we're ready for social media. It's gonna be a short one today. The episode. Yeah, so it's good. It's fine. Why not? I think we were all very disappointed about how that game turned. So
You usually do 2 hours, man. So it's all
yeah,
good.
exactly. Today, man, if we do an hour and a half, I think it's gonna be awesome. So
Yeah.
let's talk about social media. But first of all, the segment. So let's start with the first tweet. So it's in French, but I thought that it was really, really nice. So I'm just going to
Mm,
translate it for you. It's from Elizabeth, Footministe on Twitter. And she said, "You see a score, I see a coach that has defied the odds. A president that gave us the strength to come back to the stadium, a sporting director that does a lot with very, very few, a 132 section that's reopened and very alive, and supporters that are back as one. Go Montreal." And you know what? That's exactly what we
that's
see.
amazing, man. That's exactly what it is. I mean, wow. Yeah, couldn't say it better because you kind of get sucked into to your emotions when you're a fan. You can see it. You can see that Pantemis made mistakes. You can see Piet didn't have necessarily a good game. You can see that Wanyama gave the ball away so many times today. But if you look at the bigger picture, it's pretty amazing what this club has come for. And it's a cool tweet by Elizabeth. And one thing, I mean, Eve is not there, so we didn't talk about really the supporter groups this episode. But I want to give a shout out to everyone in the stadium, including, of course, the supporter groups. The place was just rocking, man. It was
It was
buzzing. It was
amazing.
if Stade Saputo can be like this every single game, man, what a place it would be.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that the the fans that went to the stadium, yes, it's a bit disappointing, but I think they still have fun, even if the team lost 3-1. I think the first half was really interesting, and
Yeah.
the chances were here, the excitement was here. So hopefully they'll come back next year whenever the club is playing. Let's move on with a second tweet, and it's Kai Kamara
Mm.
saying, "Ouch, that one hurts. I'm not going to lie, but if you ask me, I will relive 2022 all over again pour Montréal with a picture of Stade Saputo and a bit of the Olympic Stadium. What a player!
Oh yeah, we kind of, are starting to lack superlatives to talk about Kai Kamara because he's been
Amazing.
fantastic, and I went on New York Pod. I forgot the name this week. Sorry, guys, but they talked about Kai Kamara. They asked me about Kai Kamara. What can you say about Kai Kamara? I mean, I don't know what to say anymore because he's been, he's been everything we thought he was 10 years ago. But this year for us, when a lot of people thought that his career was on the descending, path, but my goodness, he stepped up big time because Kyoto got injured. Toy didn't find his game. Sunusi kind of didn't feature at all. So a lot of the offense was going through Kai Kamara, and all the roles that Wilfred Nassi gave him. So shout out to him. He's been a great ambassador for Montreal. Hady, I'm gonna tell you, I kind of have the feeling that he won't be back. I think it's over in Montreal for
Really?
Kai
You
Kamara.
think?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. Because his
Why?
family is in the U.S., man, and he.
Ah, he loves Montreal.
Of course he does, but I mean, if I had like $10 to put on it, I would say it's
Let's
finished
talk about it in the next
for
episodes.
sure, for
Okay,
sure,
let's talk
for sure.
about it in the next episode. But I don't agree with you.
Okay.
So we'll talk about it in the wrap up that we're gonna do. Third tweet, Alistair Johnston. Tough way to go out, but thank you for the amazing year, Montreal. You are all the reason it was so special for everyone involved. Merci et à bientôt. So thank you and see you soon.
Yeah, man. That's good. That's good news. He's gonna be back.
Oh, you never know, right? You
Yeah,
never know.
yeah, I know.
Oh man, I have so many questions regarding that, but I don't want to. Right now we're just, we'll talk about about the future in the future episodes. Fourth tweet from Casse Québécois. Watch Moneyball this week and so much parallels with CF Montreal. Too bad that the ending as well. You have to win the last game. What do you think about the parallel with Moneyball?
It's interesting because it's not. There's a lot of differences, but I kind of see why he says that it kind of looks similar because that's a bit the style that Montreal has kind of taken, so it's a good comparison. But I think he's right. In the end, all of this is great, but you need to win this game to kind of finalize what you're doing. So
I'm,
I
I'm
mean,
not. I'm not. I'm not the person that really like. Of course, I want my team to win, but winning is not everything. It's the emotions for me. The emotions that I got this year, I had my fix of CF Montreal. I'm glad that I was there every single game because every time I was there, I had fun. It
yeah,
was
most
interesting.
definitely, yeah,
And you know what? That's money, or that's time spent in the right way for me. That's time spent where I had fun, where I thought that, you know what? I'm happy to have gone to this game. So winning is something, and of course, it brings you another high. But for me, it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is to go to the stadium and have fun, and that's exactly what happened to me this year. We had so many shitty seasons where sometimes it's like, why am I going to that game?
Oh
You
man.
know.
Oh yeah, I know, man.
So
These years of Remigard were a real test for the fan base and for fans of football, because it wasn't some pretty football at all, and but we still went to the stadiums and expected, but you know,
exactly, and don't forget the second part of Marco Schalebam's season. Also, the
oh
second part where
yes,
we
oh
lost, I
my
think
goodness,
7 in a row or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
That was like painful, so painful. And then don't forget about the year where we finished last in the MLS.
Yeah, 27. Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, I know which one, but 2017 also. The Mauro Biello's last year
Yeah,
was so painful.
disgusting.
So yeah, yeah,
So you know what? Yes, we didn't win the MLS Cup. We didn't win the Canadian Championship. But you know what? I had fun. I had my fun. So that's what's
that's true,
important,
man.
in my opinion. Next tweet from Bobby. If Kyoto has health was healthy enough to play the second half, he should have started the GM. Can't play coach passive when your season is on the line. What do you think about that? Do you think
Mm.
that Nancy was passive?
No, no, that's not his style. I mean, I think Nasi has shown that he's probably the boldest coach that we've had. So
Exactly.
I think you know what I think is I think Kyoto probably didn't even have in his legs all the time that Nasi put him on the pitch. But
Yeah.
we had to throw everything at New York, and so I'd really be curious to know what the doctor said to Wilfred before the game concerning Kyoto, because my feeling is that he didn't have much football in his legs because man, it's for sure he didn't coach passive. So if Kyoto was fit enough, he would have started that game. And we talked about it
Yeah.
last week. I said if Kyoto is ready, man, he's on.
He
He's not
wasn't
starting on the bench.
he didn't look game shape when he came in,
No,
right?
no. His
I
heart was
felt
there, but he
yeah.
didn't look fit.
He was
For this one.
heavy. I
Yeah,
thought that he was heavy.
yeah,
He wasn't
yeah,
really like fit,
yeah.
right?
He didn't
So
have that spring in his legs that he
yeah,
usually have. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. And then another tweet, and it's from friend of the show, Robbie. We he asked us a question a bit earlier. Oh no, we
Yeah,
didn't
we'll
go through
get
this
to them.
question
We'll
yet.
get to them, Hady.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So he said we all wanted a better results today, and for the reason for the season to continue, but alas, it was not to be. I'd like to thank the team for the season we had and for giving us hope. Good luck to the boys who will be leaving, and as always, onward and forward to 2023. Allez, CF Montreal. I think that sums it up. That's exactly my feeling, the exact same feeling that Roberto um, has. I think that we're ready for the next season. I think.
I'm already ready, man. You could start today. I'd be good,
Oh
man.
man, you know it's funny when I finished the press conferences and everything. I think it was around 4 p.m. where we were able to go out. I was talking to Eric Chenois, friend of the pod, also that came here quite a few times, and I was like, for a lot of people, the season is the best moment of their footballing experiences. In my opinion, it's the off season. That's the
Oh yeah.
best. That's the best. I love the off season. I love it so much. It's gonna be so interesting. The super draft, all the players re-signing, the players that are gonna be free agents,
Oh
the
yeah. That's
players that are
amazing,
gonna
man.
join, the new concept, the new team, the new vision, the new cycle that CF Montreal is gonna be into. So I don't know. I'm so excited for the off season. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I can't wait. Hadi, were you done with social media?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you have anything to add on Robbie's tweet.
No, man. But we had questions that came in that we
Yeah,
promised to answer, and we
of
didn't.
course.
So so let's answer them right now.
Let's go ahead. So who do you want to start with?
Let's start with Justin Furtado.
Let's go with. Oh man, that's a long one.
What improvements? Yeah, but we'll keep it short though. Justin Furtado asks us, what improvements would you do to the squad for next season? So, Hadi, because we're going to talk about it a lot in the next episodes, let's say at the at the light of what we've seen in the end of the season, which position would you really look for a direct improvement? You look at that position, you say we need someone better at this position.
Left wing back,
So someone better than Lassie.
someone different than Lassie,
Different. That's interesting.
because I think that we have two different right wing backs
Yes,
with Johnston and ZBG, and I think we need the same thing as a left wing back. Is it going to be, is Quizera enough?
I
Is
don't think so.
Chouanière enough?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So I think we need. I think that Lassie should be the rotation guy, the backup in a way. But I think we need someone else in that position.
I kind of agree with you, Eddie, but I'll go. I'll go with that number 6 role, because knowing that Victor is gone, I don't agree at all with people that say, well, Wanyama can leave because we have Sam Piet. We It's been proven this year that Piet and Wanyama feed off so well on each other, and Piet, I think, has been at his best when he kind of let go of that identity and that role that it was kind of handicapping him in a way, saying that Piet is a pure number 6, and he proved that he's much more than this. So when Victor Wanyama leaves, if he eventually does, what seems to be the case, you need to find a number 6 in I think Victor Wanyama ish talent and caliber, and please do not use Sam Piet at this position. Find someone to replace Victor Wanyama and continue using Piet how you use him right now.
Unless the tactical system changes.
But we're talking about Wilfred Nasi now, so will
Yeah,
it change?
exactly. Don't forget that he was playing before with Wanyama and Kone, and then he
Yeah,
switched back to Wanyama and
you're
Piet.
right, man. You're
So he
right,
did
man.
change the midfield, right? So it all depends, and I think that Wilfried Nasi will have to adapt if there's nobody that comes in with Victor Wanyama. Now it's funny because during the presser also there's something that I forgot to say. Every time we asked about the players about what's up for next season, Johnston and Piet, both of them said the only one that's official is Georgie leaving. And Piet said, yes, I know that Victor said his announcement, but it's still not official yet.
Well, that's what I say. I continue believing that Victor Wanyama wants to stay, and he's experienced. This guy, he knows he's negotiated contracts,
No,
a few contracts in Europe. He knows how to play his game, and he definitely knows how important he's been to Montreal. He's not been, unfortunately, today wasn't a good game for him at all.
no.
It was probably one of his worst, but he's been so important for this team, and I think going forward, you need these veterans to shoulder your youngsters. So he knows his worth in Montreal, let's say, and he wants to be paid accordingly, and that's okay, man. I think he has every right to do so.
Of course. And I just want to add, Justin, keep on here on listening to us in the next couple of weeks, because we're going to talk a lot about the future. So we're going to talk about we're going to talk about all the players that have played this year, but also we're going to talk about the future. So your question is a very big questions. We're going to be able to answer it in the next couple of episodes for sure.
Let's move on with the question. We don't have that much, but we can bring Simple Guy's
Yeah.
comment. Um, Simple Guy says off season will be a real first test for Renard. No more pandemic and a good season in the books. Recruitment will be crucial. Yes, most definitely. But that's interesting, Hadi, that he said, kind of there was a context with the pandemic and the fact that the team was struggling a bit, and Wilfred Nasi is not too much of a name as a coach. Now everything has changed. All these aspects have changed. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Renard works, because Olivier Renard has been praised for his intra MLS trades, which a lot of people attribute to Vasily Cremanzidis, but I mean they work together, so it's a bit off to to discredit Renard on them. But his international trades and signings have been hit and miss, I think. So it's going to be interesting this year.
Yeah, but internationally, it's bargains that he was looking for. Like the real gems have been like his way of recruiting was let's put all my efforts in getting like ready, ready players from the MLS, and then go get bargain from everywhere around the world to see if we're able to develop them and then sell them elsewhere. But I agree with a part of that statement, but not the first part. So recruitment will be crucial. I completely agree with that, 100%. What I don't agree with, offseason will be a real first test for Renard. I don't think it's a first test.
Yeah.
I don't at all think that it's a first test. It's another test for Renard. I think that he surpassed expectations in his first test. I don't know if you remember Simple Guy. I know you listened to us. You've been listening to us for a while. But at the beginning of the season, I said something. I said that if Montreal don't do the playoffs at the end of the year, Renard and Nancy are out. I think
Yeah, I
that
remember
was the
that.
real first test.
Yeah.
That was the real first test. Not only they made the playoffs, but they were second in East. So for me, no, the first test is done. The second test is done. It's another test. It's a new test, and it's about changing cycles. Was it a one-time thing? Did he hit the right buttons? Did he recruit the right players uh, just because he was lucky, or does is he a good sporting director and can start a new cycle with other players that can be as conclusive and as this one was? So yes, it is a new test, a very difficult test, and we'll see what he's worth after.
Most definitely. And we have the last question of the episode is from Alain, who kind of gives us his impression of the season and asks us a question in the meantime. He says, great season, frustrating game against a good opponent, critical off season, a bit like what Simple Guy said. Was 2022 one off or the start of a run of success? I feel a bit sad for today, but proud of the last 7.5 months.
You can
Um,
start.
well, I think he kind of answers this question before he asks it because critical of season. That's the answer. All depends of the on the off season if it's a one off or a run of success because there are going to be a lot of changes. There's some uncertainty around some staff members and some players. Very interesting to see what the team will look like at the start of the 2023 season, and I think at that moment we'll be able to answer the question because you have the philosophy of the team is trying to buy these young kids, develop them, sell them. So for sure you don't have a lot of stability doing that. You'll have a lot of players in and out in a short period of time. Then you also have the fact that you created something in Montreal. Now fans and casuals in a sense are expecting a performing team in Montreal. So now you have to balance these two aspects and put the product on the field. So man, all depends on the off season. But to answer his question, I think we're more at the start of a run of success than a one off. But like I said, when we'll start the 2023 season, we'll be able to answer. I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sam. The thing is, we have to be careful about what we say. Run of success. Are we going to be a dynasty like the Sounders? No,
I
I
don't
don't
think so.
think it's going
No.
to be that way because the Sounders had, a backbone that was young, and they constructed a team around that backbone of Lodero, Morris, Ari Diaz, and all those players, Chad Marshall, and all those players, Torres. I can name them all. Uh, Montreal, it's going to be different. It's a new cycle. I think that 2023 is going to be another transitional year, in my opinion, because it's going to be a new backbone, but it's still going to be positive. I don't think we're going to be able to do like the union and lose a lot of our very good players and be able to replace them, and everything will be okay, because in the union, the backbone stayed the same. Andre Blake was still here, Andrew Fowle was still here,
Yes, yes.
Alejandro Bedoya was still here, and this is the backbone of that team, right? And you don't have that in Montreal. The backbone is leaving, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I think it's still going to be positive. I think we're going to have a new, interesting cycle. But we're going to have some lows and some seasons where we're still rebuilding. We're starting something new, a new cycle, in my
Definitely
opinion.
agree, Eddie. So I think that kind of does it for the episode, right?
No, we have other things. No, we have Felice and Robbie.
Oh yeah, yeah. A
Yeah,
few words, yeah,
yeah.
that were sent. You're right. Felice just tagged us on the Saputo d'Or, Trou de Poutine, and Gelard d'un Foin of Can FC, and he gave us his thoughts. Saputo d'Or, he gave us Kone Lassie Johnston, Trou de Poutine, the midfield, who kind of talked about how it happened in midfield, and Gelard d'un Foin, terrible dive by Pantemis to cause the penalty kick. So that was Felice's take on the game.
Yeah. Do we have anybody else? We talked about G Sharp. We talked about Justin, Tate, Alain, Robbie. Yeah, we just said
Tough.
won't be able to. Robbie
Yeah.
said tough one for you guys tonight. Thanks a lot. I think we pulled it off, right, Sam? Do you think we pulled it off?
We didn't want to make it too too negative and too painful to listen to. I don't know, and people will tell us. I think we did okay, man. We kind of wrote it positive, even though it's a bit of a sad day for every CF Montreal fan. So I won't be the judge unless I'll let the people judge once they listen to the episode.
Exactly. So I think we're done. Yeah, we talked about everything. But we're not done with the TPIR. As you know, we're always here week in, week out.
Yeah, most definitely. Next week we'll start the review of the season with Eve. She'll be back. We're not sure the format. If we do like last year, if we go player by player, or if we change it up a bit, we'll keep you posted during the week. But until then, guys, just have a great week. Thank you, everyone who listened, and we'll see you in 7 days' time for another episode of The Ball Is Round. Take care, everyone.